So Dan, we wanted to have you here today to talk about girths because you're seeing a lot on social media right now, all of these different types of girths, and people are talking a lot about girths and different things that are coming up with different relief points and stuff.
Right.
And I think it gets really confusing for people out there that are trying to figure out what is the best thing for their horse. So I thought maybe you could talk us through some girths because ever since I got one of your girths, I've totally got rid of all my girthing problems, I just feel like you have an excellent amount of knowledge when it comes to why a girth should, or how a girth should fit, and the reasons why.
Okay. I mean, girths are very simple, actually. The thing is that it's like everybody goes to bed at night trying to dream up that next $1 million saddle pad or $1 million girth, when girthing is very simple. The billets run straight up and down on both sides. So when I tighten this girth up, I'm pulling straight through to the other set of billets. So anytime I deviate off this straight pulling pressure, I'm not getting equal pressure. So the saddle's on a weight-bearing surface, the sternum pectoral is a weight-bearing surface. So again, we want to distribute weight to create stability and comfort. So that's why my girths are 7 inches wide, extremely hard in the middle, and they stay solid. You'll see this girth here where I can put my hand here, can't get it underneath there, or can't get it underneath there. That is bearing pressure over 7 inches. So therefore, I've give the saddle, the girth has the ability to stabilize the saddle, because when your girths are not correct, a lot of them will push forward and come into the armpit of your horse, and then the billets will pull forward, and then the saddle's pulling up on top of your shoulder of your horse, so blocking the motion. So girths can do that. So we want to have wide weight bearing surface cut out for the elbow and the tricep, and always elastic on both sides of the girth. On dressage girths we want 1.5 inches. On jumping girths we want 3 inches, and on western girths 1/2 inch. So elastic on both sides because we need the horse to breathe. And I need that girth to give the rib cavity the ability to expand and contract freely. Okay? So also with girths, we want our girths to come as high as we can. Because if I'm girthing my horse down here, one underneath the pec muscles here, there's approximately 10 nerves that run through there. So when I'm doing that, I'm sitting right on top of a group of nerves, and I'm tightening up to the group of nerves, which is not nice. And then, for example, if I grab Tina and I squeeze her right here on the rib cage, where it's still rounding, that collapses it, and that hurts a lot. If I come to the widest part, I can squeeze hard as I want, and it gets no reaction. Same thing with the horse. The strongest part of the rib cage is the widest part. So I want to see my girth come 3 to 4 fingers from the bottom of my flap, and that's where I want to see a girth lie. And that way I'm up high, I'm away from the cluster of nerves that run through here. And also when a lot of people don't understand that when you create motion, that's also why I cover my girth so that everything can come in and under. So when this front limb lifts and it comes back, see how far back that comes? And if I have my buckles not all underneath here, guess what it's hitting? My elbow is hitting all them buckles and everything else. But it seems I have it up here. I'm away from all that, and that shoulder now has, or the elbow now has the freedom to come back and have all the freedom in the world. So lots of girths, for example, if you can grab, we want elastic on both sides of our girth. These have no elasticity at all. And the middle, you can scrunch it down, which means you're getting 1 inch of weight bearing surface through the pec muscle. So this to me is not a good girth. This one here, again, anytime you can scrunch it, you're only going to get 1 inch of weight bearing surface in the middle. So it does nothing. This one I call a knife girth because these two pieces of foam just push away, and that's the only thing bearing weight on your horse's sternum. So we have that, and then we have the neoprene. Neoprene should never be put anywhere near a horse. Neoprene is the worst thing for a horse there ever is. I see Western saddle pads that have neoprene stitched to the bottom of the saddle pad, so everything on top of the horse is neoprene. It doesn't breathe. Take it off, the horse is sweating all over, dripping sweat. And the spinal processes can't breathe because it's encased with something that doesn't allow it to breathe. So neoprene should never be there. And then also, again, it just folds up in your hand. You don't want anything that folds. You want something that's rock solid, bears through here. And then if all these shape girths out there that they have, and they come down from the billet, and then they go forward, and then they come back into the sternum, and then they go forward, and then they come back. If I tighten up one of them on top of a horse, I can easily put my hand in the front of the girth and get my hand all the way back to the back. So the whole front part of the girth isn't even sitting on the horse. The only thing it's touching is the last inch. So I mean, it's so easily. You have to follow the force. And the force is if I come through here, I pull straight down through there, straight to there. So now that's the way it pulls. And if this isn't strong enough, this leather will lift and this leather will lift, and you'll see a crease in your girth. Comes right where you're bringing your pressure.
And then Dan, could you just comment on these ones here that we see at lots in Jumperland where they have just the elastics on the one side?
Yeah, elastic on the one side is very bad, because when you have that, that's when you can also get chafing, because when your horse is breathing, only one side's giving, the other side's solid. So you can get some chafing of hair on that side. Always have elastic on both sides, because you have a dead head. This is not allowing any breathing or anything else. And this doesn't allow the horse to breathe freely either, because you're only pulling from one side. So, and then you have in the jumping world also where you have girths that the back one will be high and the front one will be low. So what does that do? First thing it does is when I tighten this one, and then when I tighten this one, it pushes the girth forward into the armpit of the horse. Because, so then your billeting system, because when this goes forward, then these come more equal. So them girths push everything into the elbow of your horse. You need to stay out of the armpit of your horse. You need to stay off the elbow. But then again, there's girths out there that call themselves shoulder relief girths. How can something that sits 2 feet away from the shoulder free a shoulder? Especially if the tree in the saddle is totally wrong. The tree's blocking your shoulder, and there's nothing your girth is going to do to help that. Girths are not meant to free a shoulder. You can design a girth so it stays out of the armpit of your horse and stays away from the elbow, but freeing the elbow doesn't free the shoulder. You still have to get by the tree. So many things out there today in girths and saddle pads and all that, they're trying to claim something they're not doing. And some of them are very, very expensive girths, close to $450, and some are not, but they're not doing it. And then chafing, when you get chafing of your horse from a girth, the girth is the culprit that's doing it, but the real reason is your tree in your saddle. If the tree in your saddle is not right, it allows your saddle to shift side to side, which therefore your girth will shift side to side. If your tree fits, your girth can't make your saddle shift, but your saddle doesn't fit, you can make your girth shift, which that chafing gets us gelding of our horses. So that's a very important thing, that when you start, I have people that phone me all the time saying, can I try your girth? And I said, if you're trying to get my girth to fix the problem that you're having because of your saddle, my girth is not going to fix it. You have to fix your tree, and you have to fix your saddle. So girths are very important to allow horses to breathe and everything else. In 2009, in the University of Utrecht, one of the graduating vets did his thesis on girths. He tested 28 girths. So he did a compression pad underneath the sternum and all that, and did the testing. He tested 28 girths. My girths won hands down, because they bear pressure where they're supposed to, they distribute where they're supposed to, they have elastic on both sides, allows the breathing, and has far less pressure.
And can you give us your thoughts on how tight your girth could be? Because I know you have some good thoughts with really good analogies that'll help people understand.
To me, I mean, a lot of people think that you should have your girths loose. But if you have your girths loose, you have to realize that the back of your horse, the belly of your horse, as he walks or trots, moves side to side. So if your girth is loose, your saddle is going to shift side to side over his back. So if I put a small child on your back and I tell you to run 15 feet, 20 feet away, and I tell that small child on your back to move their head only side to side, how far do you think you get before you tell them to sit still? Now think about a 100 to a 200 pound person on top of a horse's back, that the saddle shifting a half an inch both sides. And that's what they have to do. They have to compensate for what we're doing on their back. So in my world, when you have a good fitting saddle, long tree point, fitting to the horse's withers well, I use air because I find it to be the best, and you have a good girth that has good weight bearing surface through here and elastic on both sides, there's no such thing as too tight in my world. Such thing as too loose. I have many riders that they'll say, oh, that's too tight. So I say, tighten the girth up to where you think it's good, and then go ride. And then I'll let you ride for 10 minutes, and then I'll come in and I'll tighten it to where I say it should be. And then you ride, and everyone says the horse works much better when I sit still. The quieter you sit, the better the horse does his job.